Welcome to a very special edition of 805 Sports Talk. Obviously, you guys have heard that Santa Maria is hosting a CIF Southern Section Championship game Saturday night against Big Bear. We're all excited for it, and it's the first championship game held at Santa Maria High School. The Saints are, on the verge of their very first CIF championship game. So we're going to take a minute to just talk about the importance of that game and what it would mean for the community if they win. And just making it this far, I think, has already made a big impact on the Santa Maria Valley. Obviously, we're in for a pretty crazy Saturday night with the parade going down before the game and then kickoff at 7:45 p.m. Saturday night. Kenny, you've been in the Santa Maria Valley for at least the past 2 decades. What are you kind of planning for Saturday night, and just how do you feel about the buzz that's around the city and around this football team at Santa Maria High School?
It's a lot of fun. As a sports writer, this is the most exciting, or at least about the most exciting team for me. I mean, if Santa Maria wins, obviously it will be the most exciting, but you can't ask for more. You're a Valley sports writer, and a Valley team is in a championship game. The buzz around the city has been nice. I know there's a lot of Santa Maria alums there. There was a good turnout for the semifinal game. It's just nice to see. It's a lot of fun. I'm looking for it. I'm going to get there early. I'm not going to mess with that traffic around 5 o'clock. I will be there hours before.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are kind of building a strategy to get to the game and maybe watch the parade and then go to the game afterwards. So, a lot of people are kind of planning out. So that's good that people are taking a proactive approach and trying to make sure everything goes smoothly. I know Brian Wallace, the AD at Santa Maria, and parade organizers are kind of working to make sure everything goes smoothly. There's probably going to be about 25,000 people at the parade, a few thousand at that football game afterwards. Elliot, you've been in the Santa Maria Valley for a long time, sports editor here at the Santa Maria Times. First title game for Santa Maria football since 1988. What does that mean for our little community over here?
Well, it's huge. Think about the year that high school has had. They got a baseball championship the last time around. Earlier this year, it was the end of the last school year, but still, that's in the calendar year that was a CIF championship, and now to have a football championship, it's historic to win 2 big sport titles like that. I mean, we're not talking about some of the other sports, or golf or something. These are 2 of the marquee sports, and the resurgence that we've seen Santa Maria High School have under Brian Wallace. And a few years ago, I was talking to Dan Ellington, and I'd said to him, one of the things the kids need in football, because they used to have a good football program back when Jim Doyle was the coach, and even before that, and then it just fell on hard times, and they went through coach after coach after coach. And I'd said to Dan, this team needs some continuity, some committed, dedicated leadership, somebody that's going to stick around and be there for the kids. And he teaches at that school, and that's the reason he left Pioneer Valley as the coach to come over to Santa Maria, because he wanted to coach at the school where he teaches. He's a native of the area. He's a Rigetti High School graduate. So he's all in, and the kids have bought into it, and he showed everybody that he is really a great football coach. So this is huge, and I'd love to see them go out with a championship, which, it's a lot of seniors are going to be graduating, so this is their moment, and it would mean a lot for the school, a lot for the city to have a title here, and their second title this year.
Now, Lorenzo, you're obviously well-versed in the history of Central Coast football. You know the area very well, growing up in Lompoc and over there in the Lompoc Valley. But where does this kind of rank, with Santa Maria hosting a game and having a chance at a CIF championship? How big of an impact could that be?
You're looking at this as the best story of the year if Santa Maria wins. I mean, baseball, that run was great, and watching that unfold, but I mean, just looking at the past history of the past Santa Maria High football teams, I mean, playing there was almost an afterthought, or kids wanted to go to Rigetti, St. Joseph, elsewhere, but I'm with you. I credit Dan Ellington, a veteran coach, a guy who is not only proficient with X's and O's, but player-to-coach relationship. I mean, he's a real football guy. They haven't had that in a very long time at Santa Maria, probably not since Jim Doyle.
And remember, they were decimated when Pioneer Valley opened.
Yeah.
They lost half of their students to Pioneer Valley. They lost Jim Doyle of Pioneer Valley. Of course, Rigetti lost its coach Greg Dickinson to Pioneer Valley. So that changed the whole landscape, and it sure didn't make it any easier for Santa Maria. And now they're on the right track. It's just wonderful to see these kids performing so well. I think they got a great shot too.
Saturday could potentially be the greatest day in Santa Maria history. You got the parade, a championship though, and I feel like that everything from even the mall should stay open. I mean, just the whole city should just flood and just, I mean, celebrate. I mean, I remember being a student at Fresno State when the baseball team went on that College World Series run, and I remember Shaw Avenue was literally backed up and shut down, but people driving on Shaw Avenue didn't care. They joined in on the celebration, so I have to wonder if that could happen in Betteravia, Stoll, or any other street here.
Yeah, I think when the Lakers would win an NBA championship, or you see the Raiders do well in the playoffs, you'd see a lot of cars down Broadway celebrating. So you could see that Saturday night, or maybe throughout the weekend, if Santa Maria does pull off this win and beat Big Bear, which is the 3 seed, and they are 12-1. So it is a tough task for the Saints, but I think just getting to this point is huge, and a championship for them would be that much greater for them. So we'll bring you a lot of coverage Saturday. We talk about Dan Ellington. I had a chance to catch up with him earlier this week, and we had a sit-down interview in the Santa Maria offices there where he coaches from. And we talk about what we think it means for the community, but here is what Coach Ellington thinks a win and just making it this far to the championship game means for him and the Santa Maria community.
I think it should mean a lot. I think the alumni are coming out of the woodwork. I've got more calls from alumni. I've got a guy from who gave me a picture of him and his team from the 1950s to a guy who was on the 1972 team. Just a bunch of alumni, and it's great. And it's kind of put Santa Maria back on the map, and it's given it, I know it's football. There's a lot of great things that happen around here, but football seems to get a lot of recognition. And that's good because this school deserves it. It's come a long ways, and that's what that's most excited about, is that now people may look at Santa Maria High School as a different school, something that the community can be proud of.
So we talk about the historical significance of all this, but we're also going to take some time to break down this matchup. And talking to Coach Ellington earlier this week, he did talk a little bit about what Big Bear brings offensively, and they run the option offense. We're looking at their stats. Kenny, you were kind of befuddled a little bit seeing with their so many rushing yards, over 350 something rushing yards per game, just about 20 yards passing per game. So they do run the triple option. Ellington talked a little bit about that. Lorenzo, you're a big X's and O's guy. What do you think Santa Maria has to do defensively, and what does Big Bear bring offensively?
2 things. 1, assignment football, but 2, you have to really stack that box. And I'm not talking about going 7, 8 in the box. I'm talking about maybe even bringing 10 in the box. Try to slow down that momentum, that running style, because the thing with wing T offenses, I know they look complex, they look pretty easy to stop, but when it gets going, it can score a lot of points.
Kenny, you were on hand to see Santa Maria slow down South Tovar and South El Monte last week. How did that defense look against them, and what do you think they got to do to kind of keep that going? Playing, they're going to be facing a different offense in that triple option. What did you see last week, and what do you expect out of them Saturday night?
South El Monte is a good team, but their offense, I think, is more simple than what they'll face in Big Bear. They were able to check Sal Tovar. Sal got 134 yards, but one of those was when he broke a 58-yarder for a touchdown run, and the other was a 15-yarder. So other than that, he was just under 4 yards a carry. I think, as Lorenzo said, to at least slow down Big Bear, they're going to have to play assignment football. Everybody is going to have to know who's responsible for the quarterback, who's responsible for the pitch man, the man who might take the pitch. Their ends will have to watch it, that they don't crash when they shouldn't crash, when they need to stay in their lanes. That's easier said than done, but that's what they're going to have to do. I think the positive for Santa Maria is they have shown that they can contain good offenses that have different strengths. They held both Sure and South El Monte, 2 different type of offenses, to well under their 40 points a game average. I think that will help them going in.
Best matchup I'm going to be glued to, Gerardo Zool going against Chase Dowdy.
First game and has won 12 straight. And they've done it all on the ground. They're completing, their average is less than 1 completion a game. They've completed 12 passes in 13 games. So they really don't have to watch out for the pass very often. I mean, they could try and surprise them with that, but they haven't shown that they're capable of throwing passes. They're 273 is their percentage. It's just better than 1 out of every 4 they're completing. They're not throwing very many. But they've got Chase Dowdy, Chewy Castro are both over 1,200 yards for the year. Troy Dobis and Paul Hogue are both well over 600 yards for the year. So it's not just a matter of stopping Dowdy. He can, it's a triple option, so he's got choices, and if he doesn't run it, he's got 3 guys, 2 guys that'll be with him and 3 guys that rotate in that are potential strong runners. They have, phenomenal averages when they're running the ball. So that's what they've got to look for, and the whole defense has got to be keyed on that. But that allows your defensive backs to cheat up a little bit. Now, in some offenses, that you can get sucked into that when you're keying so much on the run that they can pull up and throw a pass because all your defensive backs are up tight and you can just throw it over their head. They haven't shown the ability to really do that. They've got 1 touchdown pass on the year, 2 interceptions. They don't throw it very much. So if they can get that triple option in their head of what they're looking at, they've been looking at film to know what their reads are, I think they'll be all right. But it's going to be a huge challenge. It's a different kind of offense than what they've seen around here.
I think last week going against South El Monte, realistically when you look at it, San Maria only had to worry about South Tovar, not so much anybody else. This time you have to account for 2 guys. You have to account for that offense in general, so it's an even bigger test.
Yeah, me breaking down, attacking that triple option offense, I think it comes down to, good first down defense. You want to keep them on 2nd and long and 3rd and long so they're not grinding out drives and, stringing, these 12, 15 play drives together and keeping that Santa Maria offense off the field. I think that's going to be a key matchup. Also, when you run the option, there are a lot of times where you do put the ball on the ground. The late toss and off-target toss late, those can create turnovers. So if Big Bear does put the ball on the ground, Santa Maria has to take advantage of that and pounce on those loose balls. That's going to be a big key. They can't let those opportunities go to waste. And also, running against that triple option, you're going to be out of position a lot of times because it moves so quickly and there's so many different options. You got to have the speed to kind of make up for that. And I think Santa Maria does have a lot of speed on defense. Frank Lopez isn't the fastest guy, but he kind of builds his game plan on speed. He's also not a very big guy, so he's a quick enough linebacker. I think John Ramos is going to be playing up at the line of scrimmage a lot Saturday night. I'm sure Blake is going to be out there on defense as well. Blake Truitt, the quarterback, he's one of the quickest players they have, so he's going to be crucial as well. He's going to leave it all out there on the field, playing both ways, I think, a lot. Bobby Ruiz also going to be at linebacker. And you mentioned Gerardo Zool, who's probably been the best defensive lineman in our area throughout the year. I think he had 16 sacks going into last week's game. Mm-hmm. Gabriel Bravo also huge on that defensive line as well. Those guys are over 30 sacks combined. So, yeah, I think that defensive matchup.
I think we have to keep in mind John Rojas, too. He has really been a big linchpin for that defense lately. Besides, he's been kind of undersold or undersung or whatever, but not only has he had some timely receptions lately, he's been a pretty good linchpin to that defense. He's been up at the line of scrimmage checking the other team's best receiver, one of their best receivers. Yeah, and he's also turned into a really good receiver for the Saints as well. So John Rojas and John Ramos are going to be key. We're talking about what Big Bear are going to bring to the table. You can listen to Coach Ellington and how he breaks down this Big Bear offense.
Well, they're a double wing, triple option team, so they run the ball. They're, if they're going to beat you, it's because they're going to run the ball on you. And we have to stop it. We have to play assignment football. That's the only way you can defend a team like this. And they're the type of offense that, you can get 2, you can get 3, you can get 4, get 2 and 3, and then boom, they bust 1 for 40 because you haven't done your assignment. So, and another thing, if you don't get them out off the field, or offense off the field, they take your offense off the field. So our challenge as the defensive side of the ball is to, get some 3 and outs, and so our offense can get some rhythm. And, fly the ball. I mean, they also have some strong, fit running backs, guys that don't go down easy. Their quarterback, he's a fighter. You could just see the way they run the ball. They don't want they don't want to go down. So we have a challenge ahead of us. Big Bear's a well-coached team, and we're looking forward to it. Though it's exciting. Yeah, I've seen off and on throughout my years coaching. Dave Kelly, when he was coaching at San Luis Obispo, I was at PV at the time. I had to go against his triple option. They're similar. I've learned from that. We've been it's been like a family coaching staff around here in the Central Coast, and I talked to Dave. I've got a little hints from him what he thought, and Greer from San Luis Obispo, and so all these guys who are familiar with that offense, I've asked them some questions, but ultimately, it's going to come down to us playing football within our scheme and making plays.
So we mentioned Frank Lopez a little bit. He's stepped up this year for Santa Maria, running that defense right in the middle linebacker position. He's also been called upon quite a bit this year to run the ball with some of the injuries that Santa Maria has dealt with. And Dan Ellington's going to lean on Lopez a lot Saturday night to kind of make sure everybody's in position, make sure that defense is in the right spots to kind of slow down this Big Bear offense. So Coach Ellington kind of talked to us about what Frank Lopez brings to the team.
Yeah, he's crucial. He's been the key to this little run. I know our offense has done a great job, but like you mentioned a little bit, our defense have picked it up the last few games, and he's really been a key reason for that. I've given him more responsibility as far as calling things on the run. He's done a great job, and this week will be no different. He's going to see some things that we researched on film, and hopefully he makes the right calls and does his job.
So we spent a lot of time talking about what Big Bear brings to the table offensively, but Santa Maria's offense is, maybe a little more high-powered, definitely a lot more explosive than the triple option Big Bear offense. Kenny, you saw them on the road last week, winning at South El Monte. How did that offense look? And do you think they're going to change anything up Saturday, or kind of keep doing what they've been doing?
I don't think they'll change a thing. They have no reason to. No good defenses haven't been really able to slow them down in the postseason. Remember late in the first half when Santa Maria was up 2 touchdowns, I heard somebody yell from the South El Monte stands, "Get that quarterback!" I'm thinking nobody's been able to yet, at least in the postseason, and South El Monte couldn't do it enough. What really helps Santa Maria is they can do it in a variety of ways. You might stop Robert Ruiz for a while inside, but eventually he's going to bang out that key 4, 5, 6 yarder when they need it. Might slow down Truitt for a while, but eventually the line's going to open up a hole and Blake will bust through it for big yardage or maybe even a score. Blake has shown he can hit possession passes. He's shown he can hit the deep ball to Jonathan Ramos. I wouldn't change a thing. They're going as long as they don't get in their own way. They rack up a lot of points. I think they're dead on point where they need to be.
All right, Elliot, the Saints have been putting up points in all of their playoff wins, and even throughout their 7-game win streak, they've been putting up the points. Do you expect that to continue Saturday?
Yeah, the Saints have to worry about the triple option, but the Bears have to worry about the balanced attack. This is a team that can run or throw and do both very well. So they're going to have to be prepared for that. Truitt's thrown for over 2,100 yards and 25 touchdowns passing. He's run for 1,874 yards. Ruiz, 1,000 on the nose. And they're not the only ones. Lopez has filled in admirably. They lost Isaiah Garcia early in the season, and Ruiz and Lopez stepped up, and they didn't really miss a beat. Once they got themselves some game experience having to move up a notch on the ladder, they've filled in wonderfully. So you've got 3 running backs yourself, and Lopez will just pound you. He shows no fear, and he'll go right into the hole in the middle of that line and just carry people with him. So those guys are coming at you. And then when they go to pass, you can't concentrate on one guy. We saw, like Sandy Inez, you could say, well, if you can take away Gabe Prendergast, you could take away their throwing game. And in some ways, they're Shamar Savage over in Lompoc. But they've got Ruiz, Lopez, they got Ramos and Rojas, and a bunch of guys that catch passes. I mean, Ramos has 9 touchdowns, almost 1,000 yards receiving. Rojas has 6 touchdowns, well over 400 yards receiving. So these guys can contribute in so many ways. And the one other thing is they all play both ways. Now, we talked earlier in the year about these teams that run up these 70-point scores, and one of the things that works against them is their starters don't play a full game. These guys are used to it now. They'll play both ways the full 48 minutes, but they've done that all year, so they shouldn't be slowing down in the fourth quarter. And Ellington's got enough guys on the bench that are used to coming in for a play, for 2 plays, to give these guys a breather. So they'll be fresh in the fourth quarter because this is the way they've been training. This is what they've been working toward. And they're up. I think when they came back against Shure, they gave themselves all the motivation they needed, where they were getting just humiliated, and then they came back and humiliated Shure in the long run. And that, now they're believers. And then they go ahead, and that was the number 1 seed. They knock off the number 4 seed. Now they're going against the 3 seed. I think they can beat anybody. And their balanced attack, I think, will serve them well and will help them keep that Big Bear offense off the field.
All right, Lorenzo, do you think the Saints will put enough points on the board Saturday?
I believe it because, I mean, we talk about the offense, Big Bear runs. Well, Santa Maria is really a run-pass option. It's an RPO offense, and when you have a guy like Blake Truitt, I mean, it just opens up the offense even more. One advantage that Truitt has compared to Dowdy is that Dowdy is one of those guys who's hard to bring down. I mean, he's built like Darren Miller. Truitt, though, can hide behind an offensive lineman, pick a hole, and then just start from there. So I feel like Truitt has that edge there. But, I mean, I think Santa Maria does have enough weapons with the Rojases, Ramos, Frank Lopez. They have enough there to score as many points as they can. I think the ceiling would be 28.
Yeah.
You know, you see one of the things that we haven't mentioned is Truitt is a master of deception. Mm-hmm. They run a lot of plays that start off looking the same, where Ruiz hits the hole and Truitt sort of hands him the ball and then looks to see what's there and will sometimes just give him the ball. Sometimes he pulls it back and he heads to his right or his left to see where the hole is, or he can pull back and throw to one of his receivers. So that option that you were just mentioning is effective because of the way Truitt runs it. And the Big Bear guys are going to have to be alert to see what is Truitt really doing with that ball. Because I've been to a bunch of their games this year, and you're watching them and thinking, oh, Ruiz, oh, no, it's not Ruiz. Truitt's keeping it. Oh, no, he's going to throw to Ramos. So they're going to have to be watching for that because it's a different kind of deception.
Blake is at least as good when it comes to fake handoffs in the backfield as any quarterback I've seen in the Valley since I've been here, and I've been here since 2000. The last quarterback that I can remember around here who was in that sort of league was Jonathan Daly, who used to play for Rigetti and Hancock. I think on Santa Maria's last touchdown against South El Monte, he faked to Robert Ruiz. The defenders went to Ruiz. Next second, Blake's gone for I believe it was a 17-yard touchdown run. It's very hard. I think it's very hard for defenses to Blake is so good with the fakes. It can be very hard for defenses to decipher just what is going on.
Yeah, he's truly mastered that offense, and he's been playing lights out throughout these playoffs. And we've talked about him a lot, but I don't think we've spent enough time on him. We could probably fill a whole show with the play of Blake Truitt, and he's been great on the field, but I think his poise has been really great throughout these playoffs. Hasn't been rattled. Has kept his team on the field, has kept his team in games, and hasn't been turning the ball over, which was a key. We saw that earlier in the season when they're down. He might try to do too much, but he hasn't done that in these last 7 games. He's been lights out, and I don't think that's going to change Saturday night. Talking to him at practices, he's always relaxed, and he's always like hey, what's up? And, it seems like it's week 0. But he's treating it like it's just another game for him, even though it is a championship game. So I think he has a great attitude, and he's a great leader for that Santa Maria High offense. We're talking about the matchups a lot, but now it's time to kind of make our picks. We post these every week online, but we'll do it right here on the show, so you guys can get a feel for what we think is going to happen Saturday night. So Kenny, I'll go to you first. What's your pick for this game?
I think Santa Maria will get enough points to win, and I think they will get enough stops. I just don't see Big Bear slowing down Santa Maria's offense enough. Also, I think the big advantage for Santa Maria, I think they average almost 60 plays a game. That's a lot of plays. Big Bear averages about 40. So once again, I think Santa Maria is going to get enough points. They'll make enough stops. I think I'm calling it Santa Maria 38, Big Bear 27.
Elliot?
I'm very close. I'm thinking Santa Maria 35, Big Bear 28. I think what I was talking about before, the Saints can drive the ball. They can make big plays when they have to, and I think they can keep Big Bear off the field. I don't think they can shut them out, but I think they can shut them down. And I'm going with the Saints. I think it's going to be a huge year for Santa Maria High School.
Lorenzo?
Santa Maria to me has been a team of destiny. I think that Sure game indicated everything I need to know about the direction the Saints are going in. And I truly feel like offensively, Santa Maria has a lot more weapons at its disposal compared to Big Bear. I mean, outside of Big Bear's running game, there's not much in the passing game because we haven't seen it. We actually have seen Santa Maria get the ball down the field with its big receivers. So I think that advantage right there will lead to a lot of points. I'm thinking 31-24 Saints.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to put up a lot of points on the board. Santa Maria's defense has been able to slow down other teams like they did Sure, but Big Bear's proven that they're one of the best teams in this division. They've beat the 2 seed, and I think they're going to get their points, but I think Santa Maria is just going to come out with a little bit more. I think they're a little bit more explosive. They're going to get to be able to score quickly and score more often, and I'm going 38-35 Santa Maria over Big Bear, and I think it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a tough game. I don't think either team, I'd be surprised if either of these teams go to an easy win.
Expect a 24-hour party if Santa Maria does win.
That's just at your house.
You guys are invited.
The only drawback might be fireworks. They scare our dog.
All right, that's all we got for this week, but we got a lot more in store for you throughout the rest of the week, covering the Santa Maria High Saints playing in that championship game. We'll have video previews, video interviews with various team members, and we'll have a full-length sit-down interview with Dan Ellington that'll be posted to our website later this week, and of course, full coverage of Saturday night's game. Thank you guys for tuning into 805 Sports Talk.